What up, guys? Got this hyper tough lawnmower, little light duty one. I can prime it, I can get it to start, but I can't keep it running. So the fact that it starts and runs tells me I have spark and compression, but sounds like it's not getting fuel to the carburetor. I can force it through with the primer bulb, but it's not pulling on its own. So let's pull this carb apart and see if we can find what's going on in there. All right, to make it a little easier to get to this carburetor, I'm going to pull this top cover off. And we'll get this cover out of the way. I can actually take the fuel tank and move it out of the way a little bit too. All right, so I'm going to clamp off this fuel line so that fuel just doesn't run all over. And then we're going to disconnect the fuel line here. You can use a screwdriver or a hose remover. All right, fuel line out, fuel tank out of the way. Now in the front here, there's two 8mm bolts, and then there's two 7mm bolts. These are different thread. So just make sure you don't screw these up. We have a one that goes into plastic and one that goes into machine, so you don't want to mess those guys up. One's an 8, one's a 7. Okay, now that we're here, like I said, I already have the fuel line off. I'm going to pull this forward behind the carburetor. You're going to see a rubber O-ring and a plastic clip. They could still be inside the carburetor. It just depends on which side it comes out of, but they have to go into this little ring right here. So we don't make sure we don't forget that when we put this back together. Let's take it over to the bench and clean this. Let's pull this apart. All right, you want to try to get some of this fuel out of here. We're going to crack these two 7mm ball screws off, and then with the wide screwdriver, we're going to try to pry that side and this side. Once you get in there, break the seal, and then the bolt come off. Fuel looks okay, a little yellow, a little bit of debris coming out of there, a little bit of grime at the bottom, but not bad. Pull out of the way. Check the needle, looks okay. Now what we need to do is pop this little piece out here. So I like to get underneath here in the front, with a little flat screwdriver, give it a pry, and it'll pop up like that. There we go. And then there's our jets. That jet looks pretty good. That one looks a little dirty. That one looks pretty good. You can actually pull this thing apart. And you can look inside the emulsion tubes here, see if they're clear. So not too bad. Might just be some bad fuel. So I'm going to clean this all up, put it back on, drain the fuel, put the new fresh fuel on, and see if we can get this thing to fire up and start. So use a little bit of carb cleaner. Try not to get this on the O-ring if you can. It'll swell and then you don't have a good seal. It's clean pretty good. Clean these guys. All right, that looks pretty clean. If you're having trouble getting these out, I recommend using like a torch tips cleaner kit. Kind of go in there and make sure that all is free. All right, but this freed up pretty easily, so I didn't really have to need that a little bit of carb clean and some force there. So let's get this back together. Goes in there, and you can see there's a little hole that's like It's got this extra little lip on there. That's where this O-ring side goes. Okay, the longer side goes down to that deeper side. It's going to go in this way. That'll just clip into place. We'll put the needle on the float and drop that down like that. And we'll slide in the pin. Pops in. There we go. One little test you can do: force a little bit of air through here and see if it shuts off when you. And it does. All right. So we know that's all nice and clean. This little L-shaped piece down here at the bottom goes to where this nozzle is. So it's got to go on this way. Make sure that these are lined up, the screw holes. Close that down. And when you put these guys on, I like to go backwards first until I start to feel it click. And then I'll screw it in forward. Because if you keep trying to screw that in without, if you keep trying to screw these in over and over again, different lines, eventually you're going to wear out the threads on the inside here, the plastic, and then it won't seal, and then you'll get a leak. A little extra tighten. There you go, hand tighten this. Okay, now we know that's clean. We'll put this O-ring and plastic gasket in right away. Okay, that's going to slide onto the intake. You want to make sure this gasket's in good shape. This is how you prime the. This is how you prime it. Make sure if you have the smaller engine that has this little collar, it doesn't fall out. It's a little white collar in there. Okay, this carb is made for different sizes. If that collar's not there, it's going to create a lot more air, and you're going to be running wrong. All right, let me drain the fuel and then put this back on. The reason I drain it through the mouth, the filler cap, is because you can see how much dirt and debris is down inside this thing. So I'm actually going to blow a little bit of air through the bottom, try to clear that fuel filter nice and lightly. You don't want to break that fuel filter, and get the rest of that dirt out of there. All right, that should be pretty clean now. Okay, let's go back to the machine, put this on, and see if we can get this fire up and stay running. First thing we want to do, again, make sure that O-ring and that plastic clip is there. We're going to attach the governor arm. This slides in and push that against like that. Then we'll attach the fuel tank. And then we just got to put that, bring the hose clamp over. And now the air box. Make sure that this backside is pretty clean. Again, because that's where we make our pressure for the primer bulb. Hook up the breather hose. Then our little 7mm screws. Then the 8mm screws. I'm going to add some fuel so that can fill while I put the cover back on. Filter and air filter cover goes on next. Come down with this cover on top. All right, give it a couple primes. Sure the spark plug cap is on. See if we can get this to start and stay running. I'm going to bring it down on the floor though. All right, that's it. Something pretty simple. I give it like 1.5 out of 5 wrenches of difficulty. This carburetor is the same as a lot of carburetors on the newer engines. The only difference is this one only has the governor linkage that hooks up. It doesn't have like the auto choke and a bunch of other moving parts on there. So it's a lot simpler. If you got any questions, hit me up in the comments. Check out my other videos. Make sure you check out my channel down here. And if you got any questions, guys, hit me up in the comments. Can catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.